Okay, so we've got our 3/4 hole. We need to get a bolt to go through that and also to kind of flush out so that it doesn't get in the way of anything. Now this is the back side, so it's not as important as the front side. And we've already done the front side, and we reduced the bolt, or we reduced the hole far enough so that the nut would be below the line of the plate of aluminum. So now we're going to come in, and we're just going to, you know, as I said earlier, we trimmed down the bolt. So we're going to come in, and the bolt is going to go most of the way in, but I want to leave just a little bit for to be able to put a wrench on it and crank it up a little bit. So we're going to take it down, and let's do it. Okay, so let's put the bolt head in. This is the flipped over side so that the nut can get down below the surface of the plate, and the other plate can be flush with this one. Not big enough. Alright, so this is going to be flush, but this one here is going to be up a little bit so I can get to it. Now, what we'll do is, let's see if we can get this thing to stand out a little bit. We're going to need a stand here. Come in a little closer maybe? Sure, why not? Okay, so now I can kind of just hang on to this a little bit, maybe even with a screwdriver. We're just talking about hanging on to it enough to get it to snug down. Alright, that got it nice and snug. And we're below the surface, so that's good. Now we're going to take our second plate, and it should just drop right into place. Actually, I think this hole isn't big enough, so we're going to need to make our hole bigger, and we'll be back. Okay, so we've got our bolt in, we've got our two set pins in, and now we set our piece on top of that. And I drilled these to a little bit oversized, 13/16. It's a little bit sloppy, but you know, it's better to be sloppy a little bit and be able to get this thing off and on fairly easily than to have to fight it every time you put it on and took it off. So then we put a castle nut in. Tighten that up. And then we're going to put a snap pin in like this, although Yeah, there's plenty of room. That should do. I think what we'll do is just come in with a drill and get that hole started, and that way we'll know where it's at exactly. Yeah, that's going to work fine. All right, we got ourselves a start going. And you can see, come in close and you can see there's our set pin hole. And all we got to do is drill that out. Okay, so we've got our plate done. Let's go ahead and put it back on. See how it's going to come out. And go ahead and send this to our customer and see if we got everything that he needed. Well, hi, Nick Collier here, and here we are on another beautiful late autumn day. The leaves are falling. We got rain coming in any minute, and it's a great November day. We're going to continue with our cable pull project, and what we have to do today, and I'm going to kind of show you this. Let's see if I can kind of make sure that it doesn't reflect. You can see it. Yeah, you can see it. Okay, so what we're going to do is make this collar here. And you can see that it stands about 3 inches tall and about 4 inches across. So we purchased a chunk of material that we can use to do that with. And basically what we're going to do, and you can see on the paper here that there's an opening on one side, and that's so that you can slide the cable in, because the cable needs to be completely free from the machine in order to feed it and then disconnect it after you're done pulling the pipe through. So we're going to go ahead and get started on that, and I think the first thing we need to do, if you look carefully at this hole is a bit bigger than that hole. So what we need to do is clean up that. Well, first thing we need to do is cut a 3-inch plug off of it. And then the next thing we need to do is clean up that side of the outside of the perimeter, and then make the hole a little bit bigger. So let's go over to the lathe, because we're going to clean it up first, then cut it. I think that's a good idea. Okay. We've checked it up in our bell center, and we're going to just skim off just this outer layer, just kind of make it look nice. Okay, we've cut our plug off. Now we're going to face that off and flip it and face the other side off, and we'll be set to go. I think we can speed this one up. Maybe not that much. Flipped it, now we're doing the other side, and it looks like it's cleaning up pretty easily. So once we do that, we'll put the boring bar in and bore the interior out, oh, I don't know, probably a 1/4 inch or something like that. And the size is random. I just have to, it has to be big enough to be able to put another sleeve in there. Okay, once again we'll come in and chamfer that outer edge, making sure we don't hit. Let's see here. It's close. I think we're going to make it. Good. Well, actually, we're not even grabbing with these jaws at all. We're grabbing with the actual threaded parts of the jaw. So, and that's okay. All right, so let's go ahead and bore this out and see what we can do. So you know that the biggest problem with running a lathe like this without water, and I don't want to run water because it's messy and it rusts my lathe, is venting the smoke from the oil. And so I set up this this vent system on a light stand, and it works pretty well. I mean, it adjusts to wherever I need it to be. And I set it up with ducting from, you know, local hardware store, just standard air ducting for hot air or something like that. I'm not sure, but if you look, the duct goes up, and I don't know if we can see it up there. Yeah, there it is. Goes up through the ceiling. We're going to go past the light here, and then it goes on up to the ceiling and then out through the skylight. So it's great. I'm really pleased with how it came out, and it just sucks that smoke right out of there. Okay, so today we're going to take about almost a ½ inch off of this, and just kind of trim it down a little bit. Is if we're going to take a ½ inch off of this, there's always places where I could use a big washer, and look at that. That's just about a perfect washer. So I think what we're going to do is throw it in the saw and saw that ½ inch off and end up with a nice big old fat washer. So we will be right back. Okay, so we've sawn off our, I'll show it to you. Sawn off our nice thick washer, and now we just want to square this edge up so we can work from it. Oh, hang on. Okay, we've got the rotary table in place, and we've dropped in our coax indicator, and we're going to find a little wand that'll work, hopefully. Alright, so that's good. We've got that in place. Now we'll go ahead and crank it up. And you can see we got action here, so we just keep moving it, come back until it goes a little smaller, and then now that's getting bigger, so then we just kind of go the other way, come back the other way, come back the other way. Oops, that's the wrong way. Yep. There we go, down to about 4 thousandths, well, thousandths. It's really relative. Okay, we're pretty well centered out there. There we go. Now we got 1/1000ths. And that's about as center as we can get it. We're about 1/2 thousandths. There we go. That's, oops, a little bit too far. I'd say that's 1/4. I'm going to say that's good. I'll be happy with that. Then we come in and zero out our DRO. Let's do that on the absolute. Get rid of our coax. Well, actually, we need it just in the next stage. So, yeah, let's just take it out. It just kind of gets in the way. There we go. This beast wants to be up there. And I'm using the rings of my table to kind of just generally center what I want here. Alright, so we'll just finger tighten these for right now. We'll get that kind of snug. We're going to put our coax indicator back in. Tighten it up. And we're not going to hit any sides here, so we're going to have to get a different one. That one's going to be way too big. So probably what we have to do here is, and I know these things are made fairly inexpensively so that you can do this, is we're just going to bend it a little bit. Just to give ourselves a little bit more oomph. There it is. Now let's see what we got. Alright, well, we're hitting at least the whole way. It is at the bottom, but it is doing just fine. So now what we have to do is kind of bang this thing around. Let me go find my leather mallet. Bang this thing around until it starts making sense again. Well, let's turn it off and walk it around by hand for the moment. Alright, so we're out on this direction. Alright, let's see what that does. Oh, that's much better. Okay, a little bit more maybe. Okay, we're getting pretty close. That was very quick. I'm just going to take everything and snug it up a bit. Now we can crank it up. Be a lot easier to deal with. Okay, that's the wrong way. There's the right way. Alright, so now we just take it and tap it one way or the other. Nope, wrong way. Wrong way again. Okay, that's closer. Okay, that's further away. That's very close. There we go. We're about 1.5. Now we're about 1. Now we're about 1/2. Now we're right down there. Got just a little bit of wiggle going. And tighten it up. And it looks like I was kind of lucky because tightening it up pulled it in a little bit more snug. So we're set to go. Alright, take the indicator apart. Excuse me. And our drill bit size is going to be the size of this bolt, which will go in just about like that. It's going to be just about perfect. Okay, so we're centered. The rotary table centered. The actual piece is centered. We put a centering drill in. We are centered out. Now let's see if we can. Have to let that dry a little bit. Okay, let's dry it up a little bit here. Because we are in a cold room with no chance of things drying out for any noticeable period of time. Alright, so we've got a center there. We're going to bring this in so that we're centered on that line. Now let's see if we've got if we're going to hit correctly with all of our holes. That just barely makes it, but it did make it. Okay, there's 240, so that's our other hole. And there's 120. So that's a little bit off. That's going to give us a little bit of a problem. So I think what we want to do, yeah, it's going to hit. Let's just drag this back just a little bit. Maybe we can go sideways. That looks pretty good. Okay. And then continue on to 120, or 0. There's 0. All right, so we're going to cut our pilot hole. First we're gonna get this thing to go the correct direction. And I'm thinking I want it just a little further. There's 0. .240. .120. And I think it's a good time to go ahead and look at the picture again. Ah, yes, I see. So it's not split into 3, it's split into 4 with the 1 missing. So we want to go 90, 90, no, we want to go 180, 90, 90, 90, 90, 360, right. So that's easy to do. We just have these little holes and we can just take the lathe and trim the holes back out again. So let's go back to 0. There's 0. Then we're going to go 90 from there. And what are we at? 0. So that's 90 there. And that's it. Do we have that at 0? We do have it at 0. Okay, and then from there, and we're going to go to 90. That pretty much gives us what we want. All right, let's take this, turn it off. We're going to take our center drill out, and we're going to go for a pilot hole first. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I can't believe it. I forgot to put a spacer underneath. So whatever happens, I'm going to be drilling down into my piece. But I think what I can do is just drill down as far as I can get, and then once I get that set up, then I can come back and just use my hole as a center and drill it. So let's just do that. Okay. And let's take it to 0 and come over on this side and drill down until we get to pretty much the bottom of that drill bit, and that'll be fine. And we got a telephone. We're going to come in and cut off a whole section of this. I think what we want to do is come in and scribe a line just so that we have some place to belly up to later on after I'm going to saw that whole section off and then come back in and square it up with the mill. So right now what I want to do is put a pointer in here and go ahead and scribe a line onto that piece of material. Let's go ahead and clean it off a bit. Let's see, we got some sharp edges here. I don't know, they're not too bad. All right, take our bit out. This little pointer that I have that, you know, I don't know what it goes to, but I seem to use it all the time. Let's put a drill bit back here, or a chuck back in. All right, now we're going to look at our picture again here, and we're going to see that there's a certain amount of opening there, and I'm seeing that we're just going to cut right to the edge. So let's take it out to that edge. Okay, so now we're going to come back in. We're going to find out where we're going to hit here and how much room we're going to take out when we do that. And I'm seeing that we're going to take out a fair amount, so I want to kind of come back. Now by the time we kiss it there, let's see. And then notice how somebody's come back in and back cut that to create the gap, which allows for a little bit more strength in there. And pretty much I could back cut it wherever I want. So I think I'm going to go ahead and scribe my line right there. And that gives me plenty. Oops. There we go. Am I getting a line? Yeah. All right, there's my line. That should be good. So by the time we come back in and take out these little guys, even if we're gonna take them out, we may not. We may just leave them. This will the reduction of that amount will give us just about where the head wants to sit. So I think it's going to be just right. Now we've got our line. We're ready to cut that. I think everybody's happy. Let's clean it up a bit and have a look at it. I'll be back. Okay, so we've got our holes drilled, except they didn't drill all the way through because I had forgotten to put a spacer in here. So what I've done is I've set this up so that it's going to drill right into that hole there, and then I'll take it and just finish the hole up by hand, because really, I mean, it's there. There's nothing to stop me. And we just got the last 1/4 inch or so. Definitely don't want to do it dry though. Done deal. Okay, the next thing we're going to do with this part is we're going to put it in the bandsaw and just take off this outer section rather than grind away at it with the mill, and then just come in and surface it and back cut it to give us room to bring our bolt in and our cable in, and that'll be pretty much it for this. And then we attach it to the top of the rest of the unit. So I think it's time for lunch, and I'll be back.